Please like and comment on the video below. That will allow me to produce better quality videos and more of them in the future. If you're interested in learning to trade successfully on sports, then why not visit the BetAngel Academy, where we have more detailed videos. So there was an interesting question that popped up on Twitter this week where somebody said, give me your opinion on setting a target. And I've always been an advocate for not setting targets. And the reason for this is quite clear, really. If you set a target, you put pressure on yourself. So if you look back at the video that I did last week, I'll include it at some point through the video, probably at the end. That was describing this process of how you can trade over the course of a day. And if you took the start and the finish of the day in isolation, then you would judge yourself upon that. But if you measure yourself as you go through the day, the problem that you have is it ends up influencing the outcome of future trades. And that's a purely psychological phenomenon. So I never ever set a target. I'm going into a big day of racing in an hour or so, and I have an expectation of what would be a good day and what would be a bad day, but I don't have any idea of exactly what I'm going to earn. I sort of know probably what I could do, but once I set off over the course of the day, over a trading session, I trade a market, I trade it to the best of my ability, and then I move on to the next one and I do the same again and again and again and again. What I don't do is check how I'm doing over the course of the day. So it even permeates down to that level. Because really my objective as a trader is to just work as hard and do the best job that I can on one specific market to the best of my ability. And then the end of the day, it will be a culmination of those things. There's no concept of either stopping at a particular profit, stopping at a particular loss, or any of that. I basically just go through each one, do the best that I can. I see them in isolation. And then at the end of the day, I look back and I go, oh, that was a good day, or didn't perform particularly well. Because the problem is, if you're mid-session and you're well below where you think you should be, then you start taking more risk. If you're mid-session and you're well above where you should be, you begin to feel that somehow, you've conferred some special status on the day and you modify your behavior, or maybe you up your stakes or something like that. Whereas in fact, you should have a methodical approach on each market, delivering the most consistent results that you possibly can. And it's actually harder than it sounds, because if you pull out a really good result, you're gonna get a bit of a kick from that. It's very hard to do that. And if you really screw things up, then you're gonna feel a little bit down. But what I've learned over the years is to just cope with those emotions. And I may have a 30 second period where I'm patting myself on the back or consoling myself, but I quickly move on. It's all forgotten. Within one cycle of the markets, I'm sort of oblivious to what occurred before. I just try and do the best that I can. But also, there are loads of reasons why you should do it like this as well. Because you tend to find, if we're talking about racing here, that the quality in the market peaks about mid-afternoon. So the early stuff sort of warms the crowd up and they put some horses out, and it's generally a lower quality affair. But then it gradually builds and then tails off again. So the fact is, you're trading a different market every time anyway. They're going to have different characteristics. If you're on that downward curve towards the end of the day where they just chuck out a few things at the back end of the card, you're not going to get the same result that you could in the middle of the day. So there's no point in setting a target that means that you should attempt to try and achieve that. And also in football, different football will have different liquidity, different tennis matches will play out differently and attract different types of markets, participants and liquidity. So you have to trade each market in isolation. The first race of the day today, actually it's not a good example today because it's at Ascot, it's a very high quality race. But immediately after that, the quality drops right off until we come round to the next Ascot race, which is also very high quality. So the day is going to go like this for me today. I know that by looking at it immediately. And we've got Man United and Chelsea kicking off at 12:30. On its own, in isolation, televised, high publicity, high profile. That's going to attract a lot of liquidity. But when the 3 o'clock matches go off, they're going to have all different characteristics and different levels of activity on them as well. So yeah, I just do not set a target. Absolutely do not. I just try and do the best that I can with what's available in front of me. The curious thing is, I can look at the markets today and I can tell you how much margin, how much profit is going to be generated out of those markets on average in total. But of course, as the markets develop, the structure and shape of them can change quite a bit, and therefore that number will change. But on average, I can sort of predict how much money there is available within the market. I'm never going to get all of that money. I will get a small slice of it. But it is possible, and therefore that also reinforces that you shouldn't set a target, because you may be trying to get some money out of a market where it simply does not exist. But this also extends over the course of the week and the year, because I know when there are going to be good and bad weeks. Now and again I get an unexpectedly good week, and now and again I get an unexpectedly bad week. But you do tend to find that they sort of complement each other over the grand scheme of things. So if your focus is on each individual event, then that tends to make you perform better over each individual day. And if you perform better over each individual day, you perform better over each individual week. So it would be a real surprise to me if I couldn't make something over the course of the week. That would be a real shock. And over the course of a year, I can't see how that would happen. But if you scale back to an individual event basis, then you're going to have ups and downs and unexpected things happening. But the fact is, you just don't care about it. You just plow on the best that you can. But it's all about having a methodical approach and going through each one and doing the best that you can. And the moment you look at your P&L, we call it quantum locking the P&L. If you're thinking, oh, I'm having a really good day, let's have a quick look, and you have a look at it, it just starts to twist your mind, and it influences how you trade for the rest of the day. So we try desperately not to look at how we're performing, either on the day or the week, and so on, because that does accidentally influence your approach to the market and how aggressive you are. Even if you're automating stuff, you're sort of thinking, oh, it's going well this month, probably time to raise stakes, at which point it all falls apart. So yeah, don't quantum lock your trading. Don't look and judge yourself on that. Even over the course of the year, I do look back at what I did in previous years. So today I've looked back this morning at what I did in previous years, but that's more to get a feel for things. How did I do last year, the year before, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? How is that changing? Are things getting... But that just gives me a steer in terms of where things are going. Because if I'm seeing a line like this, and I can see it's in gradual decline over a period of time with that particular style and those particular markets, then my expectation for today may be a little bit lower. And if I can go above that, if I can exceed that, then that's fantastic. So I look at those more broader trends, but that's just to give me a steer on where to put my focus. So I look at the cards today. I know that Ascot's going to be massive, and I may as well just spend all my time on Ascot and forget everything else, because we've got some courses that I don't like, that I haven't performed on well in the past. Maybe I'm accidentally influencing myself here, but can you see where I'm coming from? I'm getting a general feel for the day in terms of where I want to be and what my expectations are, and whether I'm going to be above or below of those. But even that, I'm very well practiced, so it doesn't influence me that much. But even doing that, you may find that you accidentally influence yourself anyhow. I'd say the only time that I ever set a target was the first year that I ever did this. I left a well-paid job. I had 3 young children, and I just sort of jumped basically and decided that if I'm going to do this, I may as well do it seriously, properly, and really go for it. But the job that I left, I'd have to check it, so I could stand corrected on this. Maybe I'll do a video. If you're interested, I'll do a video on my first year trading full-time on Betfair. I think it will be an eye-opener to a few people. But in my job prior to doing that, I was probably earning 70 to 80,000, probably near 80,000 in that last year. So, it was quite a jump to make. So I was measuring myself really against that in the first year. If I had the benefit of hindsight, I probably would not have done that, because when you first start, you have to build gradually. There's no shortcut that you can do. And I put a lot of pressure on myself in that first year to at least hit that number, because then it would mean that the move was justified. Now the fact is, I don't think you need to do that when you're starting out. It's better that you get the fundamentals right and build slowly than try and jump to a large number. So in fact, I think it was probably wrong to have that target in mind in my first year. So, I think that was probably the only time I ever set a target, but that was just to justify exactly what I was doing, to give some basis on which I could mark it as a success. But it's something that I definitely do not do now, and I suggest you don't do that either.